Okay, so this is Mrs. Butterfield, and I am doing a presentation on argumentative structures, and I'm giving a mini lesson on outlining as well. You guys are working on an argumentative research paper and in the beginning stages of that. At this point, you should have your credibility check done, and we'll be turning those in today. I'll be checking those over to make sure that your sources are credible, and that if I have any questions about them, that we get that information right now so that you don't spend too much time reading and getting information from sources that are not useful to you. But that'll be your main goal for today, is picking out the information from it. And I want you to keep in mind that usable information for your paper is going to be fact-based. It will be specific. You can also use quotes from experts. And so you want to think about who is an expert. Well, it needs to be somebody who is knowledgeable in their field of study and on your topic. So if it's a business person writing about veganism, that might not necessarily be an expert in that area. But if you have a nutritionist who's talking about it, or someone who is very knowledgeable about animals, like a biologist, that might be an expert, and they can share their opinion. You can use that. So keep an eye out for those things as you are looking for your information. I want to talk about outlining because as soon as you are done with getting your notes, and even while you're doing your notes, you might want to be thinking about this. How are you going to structure that information in your paper? You have a couple of options for this paper, and the first would be the traditional way that is listed on the back side of your salmon packet. So you have the front side that has the requirements, and then there's a list of what you should put in each paragraph. And if I were to put all of that information into an outline, it looks something like this. Your intro should have some sort of a hook, and it gives you some ideas in there of what you can do for that. But you want to grab your reader's attention in a not gimmicky way, but in a way that relates it to the real world or something a little more general. You want to give background information that contextualizes the issue and shows why it is a controversy. And you want to state your claim very clearly and succinctly. And then when you go into your body paragraphs, each topic sentence should lay out a reason that supports your claim. So you want to think about, what are 3 really strong reasons that I have to support my main idea that would prove my argument? And then you want to provide evidence that proves that point in your argument. You want to analyze it, transition into other evidence that also proves that same point, and analyze that as well. Remember that this is a synthesis essay, so you want your sources to work with each other, and you need a minimum of 6 sources. So if you're incorporating that into 3 or 4 paragraphs, and I think I said 3 to 5 on the sheet, you do need to use more than one source in a paragraph. What you don't want to do is have body paragraph number 1 is about source number 1, body paragraph number 2 is about source number 2. You want to put those pieces together. Your counterclaim and refutation should have evidence behind it as well. So you should have at least one source that shows what the other side is arguing. Because if you don't have evidence to support it, you might be falling into that straw man fallacy where you're arguing against something that's not really even an argument on that side. So use evidence that supports the counterclaim, but then have a stronger argumentation against it, and that's your refutation, and have evidence to back up your refutation as well. A different structure that you can use is doing the same thing, but putting your counterclaim and refutation in a different spot. Let me just undo that. So I'm just going to cut it here. And if I were to put it up here after the intro, by the way, if I am in this formatting and I want to go move over a level, I can either use these buttons up here, or I can hit enter and it will take me back. Tab takes me forward. Okay, but I can go ahead and put my counterclaim up there. Some people do like to just get their counterclaim out of the way. I'm addressing the opposition right away, refuting it, and then I'm going to spend the rest of my paper really proving my point. So those are 2 options. A third option for how to structure it, you would still have all of the subtopics in here, but do your intro and then have 4 separate counterclaims and 4 refutations. I think this is actually a stronger argumentative structure because it's showing a much fuller understanding of the other side and showing why all of the opposition's points are wrong or just not as strong as your side. So this is a great option if you feel like you have a full understanding of the topic and you are able to refute all of the claims of the other side. So if you feel really strongly about your side, I think this is a good way to go. What I would warn you of, though, is that this can be a complicated structure. It can be difficult to pull off. If you're not as good at argumentation, or if you don't have a full understanding of the full argument, you might not be able to refute those claims very well. So just be aware that this is not the only way to go. This is probably the most sophisticated approach and the most difficult to actually pull off. And if you choose this one, make sure that you are actually refuting the counterclaims and not using fallacy to do so. Okay, and then you would just fill in all of these little pieces in here. I hit Enter, Tab, and I would have my topic sentence, and then I would have my evidence, etc. Okay, so I would be filling those pieces in. In order to get an outline started, you want to start with a capital I, period, space. And I always do my outlines even in MLA format. And so that would be Times New Roman size 12. And then you just want to write the word intro and get all of your stuff in line. So you have your counterclaim, and then you would have your body number 1, body number 2, etc. And then I would go ahead and fill in all of the pieces in here. So I would go to my intro, hit Enter, Tab, and then I would put, Tab, and then I would put hook, okay? And then I would write my actual hook. For your outline, one thing that I'm going to tell you to be careful of, please do not write your entire paper and then take 2 weeks to actually get your outline done, because that is a major pitfall. That's something that a lot of people get stuck on. They end up just writing the whole thing out. Don't do that. Instead, just use key phrases. And the main things that I need from you are the claim, which you already have. You have the wording approved. Go to the Google Doc. Make sure you have the right wording for it. Okay, put what you have on the Google Doc and then put it in here. I need your counterclaim. What is the opposite side that you're going to be addressing? What is going to be your argument against it? And you don't have to use complete sentences, just phrases are fine. What are your topic sentences going to be? And then what evidence are you using? I do not need you to put all of the evidence word for word in here, but I do need to know which sources you're using and have that mapped out so that by the time you get to writing, you know where your stuff is coming from. Okay, so that's outlining. Those are 3 different structures you can use. If you do not want to do an outline, I have 2 other options for you. If you've done a web before, an idea web, where you put the main idea in the middle, your topic, and then you have the paragraph ideas coming off of it, you could do that too. Just be aware that this is a lot of information to put into a web. So you might have to write small, be efficient with your space. So be aware of that. The other option that I have for you is a graphic organizer that I have created just for this assignment. And it looks like this, and it's on Google Classroom. So the downside of using this argumentative graphic organizer is that, number 1, it's very prescriptive, meaning that it's hard to get outside of these boxes if you're using this. It's like the difference between drawing your own picture versus coloring in a coloring sheet, right? You have to stay in the lines if you're using this. Another downside of using this is that you won't have this type of scaffolding in college. Okay, so it might be good practice for you to start mapping it out yourself. The benefit of using this is that it really does lay out what you need in every paragraph. I basically took what is on the back side of that one sheet in your salmon packet, and I put it on here with a little bit more instruction. So when you get to the counterclaim, I give you a sentence frame. Some might argue that, or some will cite the fact that. Those are some things you can use to start talking about it. So this is an option for you, and it's on Google Classroom. And you can do this, or you can do the outline or the idea web. Okay, do you guys have any questions before I give you the rest of the time to work? All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off.